All right, welcome, John. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too.
It looks like we're dressed in complementary colors. One of the delays was my wife wanted me to change my shirt, so they look more presentable. And it's always great to see you. Now I'm going to go do a quick introduction. John has been an astrologer for about 20 years. John, is that right?
Yes,
No,
maybe a bit more.
Okay. All right. Well, talk yourself up because it was one thing I've learned in this world. If you don't talk yourself up, you're not. Nobody else is going to talk you up. So, how many years would you say you've been in active astrology?
Well, I think it was about 2001 or
Okay.
2000 that I
Yeah.
started uh, reading about Jyotish and this kind of things.
Okay.
And
So,
after,
and I know you've made television appearances. You've written articles. You've taught online. You do a lot of readings for people. So you're a full working
yes,
astrologer and author.
it, yes, I've done some predictions and some readings to a lot of people. And basically, when I noticed that the predictions are coming to light and they are coming true, it gave me a more confidence in this system
Yep.
for over a period over 20 years.
Yep. And and you're quite good at what you do. You have some really unique insights, which is why I like to have you uh, co- come on the air. Uh, People will forgive us if there's a little bit of dead time at the beginning of this video, but we were trying to figure out how to simultaneously go on YouTube and talk. We may be broadcasting on YouTube right now live for all I know, but I don't know for sure. If we're not, we're going to post this up later on so you can watch it at your leisure. And we'll get better at that aspect of it as we both get a little bit wiser. I'm kind of an old, Sean's younger than I am and more familiar with the vagaries of these systems. And I'm sort of like poking my way through them. Uh, but uh, but
I'm
but
not that expert
yeah, all right.
on
Well,
this kind of thing.
that makes both of us. We better call a technical expert in before we try to do this the next time. I'm sure we'll learn. I'm sure we'll learn. And so you want to talk today about a topic about chakras and the grahas. That was my understanding.
Yes. So basically, there are a lot of talks if the chakras are related to the grahas.
Yep.
And I believe so. So my interpretation to this subject will be somehow similar to what Bepin Behari's teaching was. Basically, on this path, on the spiritual path, I made a lot of research on my own to try to figure it out if the chakras are ruled by grahas or there is influence from them. So I had my own conclusion about it. Then some years later, I read about Bepin Behari's book.
Yes.
So he mentioned everything was the same. So it was, I know I read a lot of books about the grahas and chakras, but Bepin Behari had a different approach, which was very similar to my approach. That's why I adopted his method and I feel comfortable with it. And today I'm going to try to give my opinion about it. I
Okay.
mean, it's not something that it is proven 100%. There is no such thing. But I think that my approach may throw some light on this.
Okay. Well, the floor is yours, John.
Thank you. Just before, I'm going to for those people who are watching on my channel, Dr. Gary Gomes, he was a president for two schools of Vedic astrology in the United States, and if I believe in UK. He was my mentor for a period of time.
Not in UK,
Uh,
but not in UK, but that's okay. I was a member of the UK group.
okay. Uh, and he was my mentor for a period of time in Jyotish readings, Jyotish schooling, I mean. He helped me figure it out. He helped me how to understand the text. And what I liked in him, that he was very safe in his predictions and very classical, and I felt comfortable in his way of interpreting things. This is for introduction about Dr. Gary Gomes and why we are doing this interview together. Okay, so now we will go to the topic of the grahas and the chakras. So basically, if we want to speak about the chakras, we will start by understanding the root meaning of this word. So basically, it means a wheel, that it can also mean activity, or a wheel that is turning. This is basically a point that I cannot see. It is an invisible energy. It is said that there are around 144 chakras in the human system, but only 7 of them are considered major. And that is something that resembles to the grahas. So we will start by, like the Ashvata tree, the cosmic tree. It is said that the root of the universe, or the physical world, has its origin or its source in heaven. It starts from the unmanifested, or some people may call it God or higher dimension. So it is very clear that the sun was given the role of giving life, and it is the leader of the solar system, the bestower of light, the brightest light, and the life givers for even the grahas, and they are all under its influence. By this, it is very obvious that the sun is the infinite. It is like the Sahasrara, the thousand-petaled lotus, the Atman, the soul. So on this level, I believe that the luminaries, that are the sun and the moon, function on the highest level of the cosmic man. In this level, there is no duality. And by their role, we all know that the sun and the moon in Jyotish, they are royal planets, royal grahas. They have been attributed this role. And if we look at it, they only govern one sign. And they are, one of them is the moon, and the second is a sun, it's a star. And they both reflect light. One of them, the light is in its nature, and the moon reflects the light of the sun. So those two lights, the great lights, I think they function on the highest level, that is the Sahasrara and Ajna. So the sun, by its own, has leadership qualities. There is also spiritual insights there. This is according to Bepin Behari. It always works from the inside. When the sun is exalted and under benefic influences, it usually gives sense that the soul has reached a mature phase. It can be ready to transcend to other levels. So when the sun is passive, this is when the sun is passive. It gets, and under good influences, it gets this good energies and tendencies. When the sun leans toward negative energy, like in Libra, it will result in lack of willpower, and the self-esteem will be low. and this can lead to a lot of confusions and chaos in the mind of the person. So we will go to the part of to the role of the moon, which in my opinion rules over Anja. The root word of the Chandra means shining or bright or glittering. So I think that when a person has clarity in his mind's vision, I mean about the universe, basically it transcends that this chakra is active and it is in a good function. So the word literally means, I like to start the chakras from the upper to the lower, because I believe that the human being's origin is in the unmanifested. Everything starts from there. So I like to call the first chakra the sun, that is on the crown. The second one between the eyebrows. So the word translate as authority or command or to perceive. And I think this is the role of the mind. This is the role of the moon in Jyotish. It represents the mind. The mind is the foundation of the power to command. So under benefic influences, the power of the moon and the sun, it gathers wisdom. The moon will start to gather the wisdom, the infinite wisdom from the sun, and it will transcend it to the realm of the moon or the mind. It takes its source from the sun. In this level, one will find nourishment, the real divine tranquility, and the sense of oneness by self-illumination. Still here, there is no duality. I believe that the moon represents the yogis that follow the Jnana Yoga. In Bepi Behari's approach, the sun and the Leo governs the crown chakra, and Cancer the chakra that is between the eyebrows. I believe that is true. And if we remember the mantra of the moon, it is mentioned that the moon serves on the ornament of the top of the head of Lord Shambhu. I believe you know about this mantra. So when the moon is passive and its energy leans toward negative, like in Scorpio, it will most probably give some sense of fear from the unknown. I have seen this in many charts where the moon is in Scorpio and there is no benefic aspect or no benefic support. People have a lot of fear from spirits, from unseen things, or from energies. They usually tend to have this fear not only from people, not only from authority or something physical. They usually have a fear from something that is not seen, or something that is not in our reality. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I'm just saying that when the moon is weak, like in Scorpio, people tend to fear from things that we don't see in our five senses. When the moon is active and in positive influence, under positive influence, like in Taurus, it gives a lot of rise to insights that can be translated to scientists or in art or cinema and this kind of things. So after this level, we will reach to the to the level of the third from the upper phase, that is Mercury, which rules the throat chakra. And this is, we call it Vishuddha. The root meaning of the word is to be awakened or to be aware. It is the realm of thoughts and speech. And here starts the duality, the knowledge between the right and wrong, the good and the bad. In the Christian culture or religion, we hear about the story of Adam and Eve, that Adam and Eve fall from heaven after eating from the tree of knowledge. That is the realm of information, which is based on images and memories of physical experiences. Under benefic influences, there will be strong urges to create and express philosophical thoughts and to be pioneer in those fields. And here starts the first element, that is a space, which include time in it, because time and space are twins. They are like each other. And here also is action, and in action there is time. Because in space, if there is action, there will be time. And we also need to remember that in the hierarchy of the planets, the sun rules everything. The moon plays the role of the queen in Jyotish, and Buddha, Mercury, is the prince. That is like, he comes after the sun and the moon. Well, there is another version. I told the story of Adam and Eve just to say that on the level of the sun and the moon, there was no duality. But when thought came in, when thinking started, and the level of manifestation started to unfold, like for individual, here we lost our true nature, or we started to get far from the oneness, the sense of oneness. And here the elements started to manifest.
I just wanted to point out that one of the approaches that Mr. Rao took when he was first teaching Jyotish was setting up the chart as Sun as Leo and Cancer as the king and the queen of the zodiac, and you had all these extensions upward from that. So that's and also in Shankya Yoga, Shankya is the point of spirit descending into matter. It rules Ayurveda, but it also rules Jyotish. So your idea of starting from the head is very sound.
Thank you. Should I continue about?
Yes, please.
Okay. So now after Mercury, we reached at the level of the heart, and that is the realm of Venus, Shukra. Here is the bridge between the materialism and spirituality. It is also the word of divine chalice. There will be strong desire for pleasure, and in the same time, strong urge to unite. The root word of Shukra means bright or clear. We must also remember that Shukra is also the guru of the Devas, who could revive the dead. So this is important because, interestingly, Jesus, who is much connected to the heart by his devotion to peace and love, he had also risen the dead, and he himself rose from the dead. So there is a strong link between the guru of the Devas that could revive the dead and Jesus. Another interesting story from Lebanon, and specifically from the Byblos region that I live, that there was a deity named Adonis. This is very ancient, thousands years before Christianity. Some used to claim that he was a god. One day, another jealous god disguised himself as a boar, killed him while Adonis was hunting. I'm sure a lot of people heard about Aphrodite or Ashtart. They used to be in love. Aphrodite was in love with Adonis. She grieved so much and begged the gods. And after she was begging the gods, he was revived again. So this is in the Greek.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Sean. I interrupted.
Okay, so in the Greek and Phoenician tradition, Astarte was linked to Venus.
I just want to add one of the pronunciations of Astarte's name is Ishtar or even Easter, and that's
Yes.
the time we associate with Christ rising from the dead. And there are also stories in India about Shukracharya coming back from the dead and resurrecting himself and coming out alive through Shiva's grace, being reborn through Shiva's grace as well. So resurrection's sort of a constant theme, and if you go back to Egypt, you also have the Osiris stories.
Yes. So basically, I noticed that every deity that is linked to the heart, he has the power to revive, either by his power or something greater than him, but he is channeling that power. Like Aphrodite, or in Lebanon, in Arabic, we call her Ashtarut or Ashtarte. They linked her with Venus, with the planet Venus. In Lebanon, I also must mention that we have the phoenix symbol. It is a bird that originates from heaven. It dies and revives after 3 days. I'm sure you heard about the phoenix, the fire,
yes.
The fiery bird.
Yeah, I have one in my office.
Okay. You had the Lebanese friends, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And I was also told this year, at least in feng shui, phoenix is a lucky animal for me. So it's something that people who have strong Venuses typically have several. They get many chances in life. It's not, and they go through they go through incarnations, not in the literal sense, but they go through rebirths quite a few times. So it's an interesting to look, because that all comes from the heart, that motivation to so even romantically, if we get knocked down, oftentimes we try again and we try again and we try again. So that theme of repetition comes up very strongly in Venus.
Dr. Gary, the interesting part in Venus is that it is exalted in the 12th sign, Pisces, which is the sign of death and the end of a cycle.
Yeah.
So Venus strong in Pisces. This is a very positive and active influence this planet will achieve in this sign. So here there will be a revelation for great secrets and may give great knowledge in many things, especially in spirituality, mysticism, art, and cinema, etc. So Venus is very powerful in the sign of death. So it is again related to death and the resurrection. While Venus,
We could end up talking about the death rebirth imagery connected with Venus for like really the entire video. So, as a matter of fact, several videos. But uh, so yeah, yeah, it's it's the third brightest object in the sky too.
yes, oh, I like to watch the planets in my naked eye, and I can say that Venus is the strongest star in the sky in the evening. Not man, of course, after the moon. We're speaking about normal planets. The sun and the moon are the brightest.
Yep.
Some claim that Jupiter is the brightest, but in the naked eye, you will see that Venus is very, very bright,
Oh yeah, and
brighter than Jupiter.
you can actually see if you look carefully, you can actually see phases in Venus as well. Venus will sometimes have like little crescents taken off it.
So while Venus is composed from passion and love, and it acts very badly in Virgo because like love doesn't understand the realm of the thought and the realm of ideas. Love is just love. It is a strong drive that comes from divine insights. So that's why it doesn't act very well in the realm of the thought. So now after going to the fourth chakra, we will go to the fifth one from the upper. I'm mentioning again. So here we come to the part where Mars rules, in my opinion. That is Manipura. It literally means the city of jewels. Well, I started to contemplate on this word. What does it really mean? Why Manipura? What does it really mean, the city of jewels? So after some time, I noticed that Mars is an explorer. And jewels are found by mining and exploring. It is the energy drive behind the scientists, warriors. With this power, we break the borders. A lot of my predictions about starting war, like crossing borders, were revealed to me by understanding the movement of Mars. When we sail or navigate on Earth or in the sea, in the air, or even in space, I think Mars is giving us this energy, this strength.
I would agree. Yeah. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Here is the place that we are strongly identified as persons, as individuals. Here, the ego is very strong. We are aware of our power and weaknesses, and we are aware of our self-esteem and confidence, if they are good or bad. So Mars is exalted in Capricorn, which clearly means this energy should be driven towards physical action and work. Under good condition, this chakra can give many insights to its basic nature it governs. We will find people very successful in those parts and areas of life, those who have Mars exalted. So Mars should always have physical activities, because if this energy is not channeled by physical energies, physical movement or physical work, it will disturb the person. Mars under negative influence may lead to a painful path, especially in science, and people may become aggressive, especially when they are in power, because they don't know how to channel this energy.
Yeah, it's all just a footnote. It's also the planet connected with accidents. so so essentially that piggybacks on your observation that they may become aggressive or they may even become careless.
Yes.
You know,
So the sixth chakra, in my opinion, is ruled by Jupiter or Brihaspati. Why Jupiter? Because we all know that Jupiter is the protector and he is the teacher and he bestows moral codes and knowledge. The chakra's name is Svadhisthana. It literally means one own abode. So it is also a sacred chakra. If we read about in Rig Veda or in the Vedas or in the Indian traditions and religion, we will notice that this chakra it means the sacred light, and we all know that Brihaspati in the Rig Veda is born from the first light. So analyzing this word and the graha that rules it, I always think about and contemplate that when a person is in the mother's womb, he is protected there by the mother and by the mother's womb. So I think that the protection starts from from the sixth chakra, and this is the role of Brihaspati. He has the power to sustain, and he also rules fluids. And we all know that the baby is surrounded and protected by water in the womb. Here also there will be devotion, there will be religiosity and sustenance. Why? Because a child in his mother's womb will be protected. He will learn the devotion from his mother, especially when his mother takes good care of her baby in the pregnant phase, while under bad influences or phases in the pregnancy, there will be a lot of disturbances.
and Jupiter is exalted
in Cancer, in the mother's sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a very clever thinking about it. While thinking about it, so we will reach to the Muladhara, that is, in my opinion, ruled by Saturn, Shani. So let us think why Shani rules this root chakra. We all know that that Saturn is the slowest of the planets, of the grahas, and in the same time it is the farthest, and it is a dark graha. Its color is dark. In the law of vibration, scientifically speaking, the slowest vibration is the closest to physicality. That is, the solid matter has the lowest vibration, the slowest one. So I mean that the slowest moving particle is the solid particle, and this is a scientific fact. So I have come to this conclusion after a lot of observation, and there was something like an intuition inside me that connected the grahas from the sun to Saturn in an order. We are excluding only the moon. Okay, so the sun and the moon rules from the top. Then Mercury, that is the first graha away from the sun, rules the fifth one. The second most far from the sun is Venus, then Mars, then Jupiter, then Saturn. So one time, I mean, maybe more than 20 years ago, I was thinking about the chakras and contemplating on it, and I tried to understand if we can link them. I mean, the planets and the grahas. So there was some insight to me that this is how things are. We take the sun and the moon, and after that, we take the first one that is nearer to the sun, and then the second, and to Saturn. After that, I was reading a lot, and I read a lot in Bepin Behari's books. I saw him coming to the same conclusion, and it was very remarkable to me. Here, I must say something that obviously when we are going to talk about the Muladhara, we will talk about the Kundalini's power too. And before that, I just want to say that we need to remember that the father of Shani is the sun, and his mother is Chaya, or illusion. So it is true that the physical world is an illusion. Like we all read from the Rig Vedas, or even Patanjali said it, that this world is only real for the non-enlightened people. For the enlightened one, this world is not real. So Shani takes this role. He is a part light and a part illusion. So for the person who is connecting to his true nature or to God, he will come out of this illusion, because Shani is both. He has light inside of him, the seeds of the light, and the seeds of illusion. His mother is illusion, his father is the light, the sun. And here, from this point, the Kundalini start to be activated.
Well, just to interject, they also say Rahu is like Saturn in a lot of the lessons we learned. So Rahu is definitely connected with illusion.
Yes. I think that I was going just to explain about this in my opinion again.
Okay.
That I always say that the zodiac is ruled by the sun on the first level. It governs all, because everything is in the sun's gravity. Then we have the sun and the moon, the day and the night. So on the second level, we will have the rulership of the sun and the moon. And in the physical body, we know that in the Nadi system, we have the side of the sun and the side of the moon. The Pingala is the side of the Pingala Nadi is the side of the sun, and the Ida Nadi is the side of the moon. So I believe, I think, I'm not 100% sure about this, that Rahu and Ketu are related to Shushumna Nadi.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So a question arises, especially now, especially in the West, especially in the last 120 years, after observing a lot of schools talking about Kundalini and how to activate it. I always like to go to the root of the things. To me, if we are going to speak about the Kundalini power or the chakra power, we need to go to Patanjali, because in my opinion, he is the source. He made a very interesting way to explain these things, and to explain what is the safest method to awaken the Kundalini. And we all know his famous 8 limbs of yoga. They are very simple, yet complicated. So it starts with the yamas and niyamas. So the yama Okay, why I'm saying this? Because if we are going to force the power of the Kundalini, it can lead to a lot of damages. I'm going to speak about it later in detail. I'm explaining about the yamas and yamas and the path of Patanjali because if we force it and we really don't know what we are doing, we can have a lot of damages. So Patanjali said that we start from the yamas and yamas. What is the yamas? It is the kindness, ahimsa or non-violence, the truthfulness, non-stealing, moderation, generosity. This is the yamas. So a person who is going to start on the path of spirituality, he needs to start from here, from the zero. This is the first phase of starting a spiritual life. The niyamas, it is also 5 points: purity, contentment, austerity, self-study, and surrender, of course, to God. So basically, it is very important that those 10 points are always remembered before going to the asanas, pranayama, and the other ones, the other systems of activating the kundalinis. So a lot of schools, I know, they start giving instructions how to activate the kundalini, but they ignore the first two ones. In my opinion, it is very, very important because a lot of people got really damaged from this. In my opinion, and it is from my mentor in spiritual practices, it is not my personal opinion. It is it is the opinion of my mentor in the spiritual realm. He said that the main stream of the Kundalini power should run from the Shushumna Nadi and not by the Ida and Pingala, because the Ida is a fire element and the Pingala is the opposite. Shushumna, it is the path that is between them, and it is the path of the true spirituality. Rahu and Ketu, they act like the power of having desire, and Ketu acts like the power of detachment, of spirituality. So this is why I believe that this concept is true. They also mention in ancient teachings that if this power is ran by other nadis, it creates imbalances, sometimes hallucinations, and severe psychological damages. I think this is true, very true, because in my experience, I noticed a lot of people that forced their kundalini, ignoring the yamas and yamas, and they had a lot of mental damage. Some people started hallucinating. Some people started having unreal thoughts. This is why we always say that the yamas and yamas are very important.
Can I make an observation, John?
Yes.
I I I I think that sometimes when people get on a spiritual path, and this is true for I think this is true for anybody, there's a great deal of impatience to get to God, to get to God, to get to God. And the thing of it is, we have Rahu. Rahu is really the planet most responsible for reincarnation. That's these the unfulfilled ambitions or desires that we're bringing into the world. We have to figure out a way to at least ameliorate those before we start trying to elevate ourselves, because they'll just essentially I think we'll feel ourselves out of harmony if we don't acknowledge what we still want. The other thing, and I think the yamas and the niyamas, this is just my opinion, are about creating as good a vessel as you can create for this spiritual path, as strong a vessel as you can create. So that's just my opinion.
Uh, yes, this is something that I need to say, that the realm of the Kundalini is a very serious realm, and not even good teachers, expert teachers, advanced teachers, in my opinion, this is not our realm of forcing the Kundalini on, especially on others.
Yep.
I heard a lot of people, a lot of teachers, that they force the Kundalini power in other people's. So, in my opinion, if someone is not an enlightened being, he is not really connected to the power of God, he shouldn't do that.
Yep.
This is my opinion.
And 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 in some ways it can become a point of spiritual pride, which is not necessarily a good attribute to have, because you can say, "Oh, my Kundalini was aroused." Yeah, so I've made it. That's really a start on the spiritual path. It's not the end. It's an indication of spiritual advancement, but it's not the be all and end all.
Yes. So, well, in this path, in Patanjali's path, there are ways to gently awaken the Kundalini, and he explained all of it. It is the eight limbs of yoga. After the yama yamas, we start with the asanas and pranayama, which are, in my opinion, very good ways to awaken the Kundalini. And we need to understand what is the word Kundalini. While I was searching about it, it really meant coiled, or like a serpent that is in circle, rounded on itself. So I'm sure that a lot of people who started meditating, doing pranayamas and the asanas, when they sit in the meditation posture, they will start feeling that their body is moving, like in circles. I had this especially in a lot of meditation groups. A lot of people, they even didn't hear about Kundalini or anything. They just started doing the pranayamas and asanas, and they automatically started to feel and started moving their bodies like in circle. So maybe when this power is starting to getting active, a person will feel that he is moving in circle. Maybe this is why the word Kundalini was mentioned in the first place.
Yeah, I think there's a great deal of merit to that. Because you're focusing, it's never a direct path, is it? It's never a direct. So I'm not a guru, so don't take this the wrong way, but it's never you never start out and you just say, I'm going to find God, unless the person's like really advanced from a young age, like Ramana Maharshi, maybe. But the person almost never says, I'm going to link up with God. We have all these habits, all these customs, all these limitations of our body, our environment, and they're put in place for a reason. They're put in place because of maybe past karmas, um, and and they're there for a reason. So essentially, and they can be a trap, but they can also be a ladder. So I think it's it's tempting to say I'm enlightened, and I have a direct path, but you're reorienting yourself to a different state of being. It's not going to be without some kind of reorientation or recircling or rediscovery.
Yes. Before I forget about it. Uh,
Please,
uh,
I don't want to break your train of thought.
no, in this gentle way of awakening the Kundalini, that they are the pranayamas and asanas, there is something called the locks or bandhas. So they are basically locking the energy in a specific part in the body, and then they release it, and it serves as a technique of making the energy active more. So this is also part of this is also called a gentle way of activating the chakras. And I must also say this, that we shouldn't be very hasty about it. I know when I started, I did a lot of things 25 years ago. I started in the spiritual path. I was very curious. I was very urging to know more, to experience something. And some things did happen at that time, some things that are not from this world. But forcing it, I don't believe in forcing it. We
Yep.
should go easy on it, so that we stay on the true path, on the right path. So I'm going to try to link the yogas with the planets, because we all know that there are many yogas. There is the Raja Yoga. I believe it is related to the sun. It means royal.
Yep.
The Jnana Yoga is related to the moon, in my opinion. The Mantra Yoga is related to Mercury. Bhakti Yoga is to Venus. Hatha Yoga is very clearly related to Mars, because Mars needs activity, physical activity. Tantra Yoga to Jupiter, and Karma Yoga to Saturn.
Yeah, that would make sense. There are certain indications that at least if Venus is in the fifth house, the person can become proficient in in mantra yoga. So so, but again, that's really an element of devotion. That's really an element of so it doesn't necessarily take that away from Mercury. It's just that the devotion, the person learns devotion quickly.
Well, I think when we go to the level of Jyotish, things gets a lot more complicated.
Yep.
And
Yep.
planets behave and are under some circumstances that if Venus is in the fifth house is the house of mantras. It may bring a lot of great secrets
Yep.
for learning some mantras that are not normally learned by normal people.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it can give this meanings.
And it can also bring a love of mantras or knowledge. So again, there are different interpretational settings that you can apply to these things. It's not necessarily cut and dry, but I think the general categories you describe are um, they 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 fit the bill.
I hope so. Hope it was explained in a clear way.
Yes, it was.
If you have anything to add, it will be great.
No, I just hope I haven't interrupted you too much.
No, the contrary.
No, but I think this has been a fascinating subject to look into. I, I like to look at the six darshans and I'll look at their connections with the planet. That is the six pathways. It's just from my perspective, and it's interesting that the sun that things like Nyaya is logic. I normally connect with Mars, but Shishika, which is discrimination, I connect with Mercury. Um, uh, God, I had to look it over. Shakya is connected with the moon. Yoga is connected with the sun, and um, essentially the two remaining ones, Mimamsa, which is essentially um, uh, rituals, is connected with Venus, and the last of the darshans, the last of the six, is Vedanta, which is connected with Jupiter. Now, Saturn doesn't have a role in those assignations, but there's a certain amount of discipline that's required to for all those. So essentially, Saturn's like the foundation. Saturn just forms the foundation of all the systems, but those will also kind of apply to the planetary chakras that you just described. You know, and it's I think the way a lot of these systems. So essentially, what we end up doing is the chakras are like one attribute that we connect with the planets, but there are so many other attributes we connect with the planets. And especially in spiritual life, which I don't think is ignored at all. But I think there tends to be kind of a monochromatic thinking about Jupiter's the only spiritual planet or K2's spiritual because it's renunciate. They're all kind of essential for different people. Different people may not be as successful with a Jupiter devotional path as they might be with a Mercury devotional path because their mind needs to be kept busier. You know, so I think that's one of the things we as astrologers, and we're looking at a chart, can maybe help individuals recognize for themselves. So maybe they haven't had that much luck with um, a guru in the conventional sense or a traditional pathway. They may need something different in order to progress. And that's not necessarily saying that a guru is a bad pathway. It's just not what they're particularly attuned to. You know? And there are different types of teachers as well. Some
Yes,
people, like my astrology Kirazian, who was one of my astrology teachers, said his first astrological guru was his mother. You know, so
that can be very true.
I think that all these things you find knowledge and you find knowledge of yourself all around you. Really, the entire world is a learning environment. So it's so that's just my particular bias.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sean. As always, it was enlightening and very entertaining. Thank you very much. You're a very
Thank you for
smart, you're
being.
a very smart individual.
Thank you. You are very smart too. I know it from the predictions when even before Corona, you said something about some virus that was going to go and start. I remember it. You made an interview about it few months before the pandemic. You were talking about Ketu and about how it is related to viruses, and it was going near Saturn and this kind of things.
Well, thank you.
So,
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. We'll meet again uh, next time, and hopefully we'll go live. Okay,
okay.
friend. You take care of yourself. Okay. God bless and have a wonderful. It's Labor Day weekend over here. I know you don't have that holiday in Lebanon, but it's Labor Day weekend here, so we have a 3 day weekend here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
it's a
for you.
holiday. Yeah, it's a holiday weekend here. But I do wish you blessings and good luck and prosperity and happiness and spirituality.
Thank you
And
for you. I wish you
and,
the
and,
same.
and my best to your wife too. Okay. All right,
Thank you.
all right, John. You take care of yourself, okay, my friend?
Thank
We'll
you.
be talking again. Stop.